They were great. It was just so good. You know, it was the big concert in the Denver Coliseum where I saw so many shows. Yeah, the Allman Brothers were great. Barry Oakley was there, you know, the whole band. I always found it interesting. When I played with Lucinda, we opened for the Allmans, and that was when I figured out why Gregg always was positioned to one side of the stage, to stage right, is where he always said it, and because he didn't like monitors. He never used a monitor. He just sang into the microphone, and he had his little Leslie behind him, and he didn't play very loud. And he was far enough from the band to where he could hear him, but he could hear himself sing through the PA, and you know, just he could sing. And I asked him, I said, "You never used monitors, right?" And he said, "No, man." He said, "You know, I came up when there weren't monitors when I started. You know, those things didn't come out till later, and I never could get along with him. I just hated him." He sang really well, you know, like Ray Charles, man. What a great singer.
When you're playing that big of a venue, to that big of a PA, can you hear yourself in the house pretty well as a singer?
Sometimes depends, you know. In that band, I think Dickie had a monitor, but Gregg didn't. He just wouldn't have it. They were playing through Marshalls when I saw them. Yeah, they still had the Marshalls, which I think was their best sound. You know, Duane never went to another amp. You know, he probably used, you know, small Fenders in the studio, but he used the Marshalls on stage, and you know, he was dead before they moved on to different gear. The same gear that's on the cover of the live album. You know, where they're out in the back. You know, on the
Fillmore?
yeah, the Fillmore East
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, is that gear. They sounded great, man. So good. And Dickie was really good. You know, I it was that night that I really kind of, you know, I went to see Duane, but I realized this guy's really good. Yeah, he was that solo he played on Ramblin' Man, you know, it's great. He's a really good guitar player. I think when I saw him, when I saw him with Lucinda, I don't think he lasted much longer than that period. That was late '90s. I don't know when he got fired. I'm not sure, but I did see him do business in the lobby of a hotel one day. He was a very unpleasant person to be around, and nobody liked him in the band. I know that. You know, they were over it. He was, you know, extremely unpleasant fellow. Unfortunately, he was quite talented. Jack Pearson was playing the dates we opened for, and he quit soon after because he couldn't handle Dickie. But I remember I watched him every night, of course, every show we opened. You know, I you know, sat on the side of the stage and watched everything, you know. And every time they gave Jack one long solo in the show, and he took it out to outer space every time. It was just beautiful. And I remember every night, you know, Gregg would be over there, you know, hair hanging down, you know, just singing into the microphone. You know, he was only recently sober, maybe maybe a year, and he was still obviously shell shocked. You know, he was just kind of like, you know, he was still adjusting to sobriety, going through whatever you have to go through. And he was pretty kind of deer in the headlights kind of. But I remember every time Jack did that solo, I remember the first time I noticed Gregg is like, he's smiling. That's the only time in the set that Gregg smiled was during Jack's solo. Every night. I remember I saw him the first night, smiling. I was like, oh, okay. And then the next night, he was smiling again. You know, about halfway through that solo, he was like nodding his head, like, "Yeah, man." That's so cool.
Is there a video out there of Jack Pearson playing Duane's Les Paul?
I don't know. There might be.
I think there
Probably
is.
so. I can't imagine that he didn't. I don't think he plays much out these days.
I think
He's so good. God, Jack's amazing. He's just a wizard, an unbelievable musician. So people don't realize. I remember when I first moved to town, I saw him, and I was like, "Who the hell is this guy? You know what?" You know, and I remember being at a session and saying, "Have you ever played with Jack Pearson?" And the guy was like, "Yeah, I played with him. You know, he'll never make it." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "He's just not cut out to be in this business."
That might be a compliment in some ways.
Well, I would wear it like a badge of honor, you know, but he should be more famous than he is, because he's a wicked guitar player, man. Whew. He goes in places nobody can go.